Coming up in today's episode of The Angle Show, we have a huge update on Bray Wyatt, LA Knight, and Bobby Lashley for WrestleMania. Plus, we got some other stories we're going to be discussing, and it's all coming up now. Our first story, though, of the day is some AEW news. We are going to talk about Action Andretti because it appears that he actually suffered an injury at an AEW Dark taping event, and this is some really unfortunate news. The match was called off. Basically, for those who don't know, Jacob Cohen, somebody who goes to pretty much all of the tapings for Impact, NXT, Ring of Honor, AEW. He was there at AEW Dark, and he revealed on Twitter that a match between Slim J and Action Andretti was actually called off during the match. This match did not go well because Action Andretti was injured. Now, the extent of the injury, how serious the injury is, nobody really knows. It sounds like it could be potentially serious, but here's the thing, guys. Action Andretti is a hell of a talent, and I just think once he comes back from injury, it is time for AEW to really put him front and center. This is an issue that AEW kind of has where talent get pushed, they get brought in, they get a surprise win over Chris Jericho, then they're wrestling on Dark. It's unnecessary. In my opinion, it's always been unnecessary. You want these wrestlers to get their reps in, obviously, but the fact that this guy isn't consistently on TV, the fact that they didn't do anything to really ride the momentum of such a massive win, it's like it's a head scratcher, you know? And obviously now that he's injured and he could potentially be taking some serious time away from TV, it only hurts and derails any sort of momentum that he once had. And trust me when I tell you, it was very little to begin with. So as you guys know, I always say health becomes the first priority over wrestling. I think that remains true in every scenario. So in this case with Action Andretti possibly being, hurt for an extended period of time, hopefully he gets well. Hopefully he comes back better than ever. And, hopefully AEW kind of looks at his value and says, hey, we got to do something special with you and start doing something special. Maybe this just goes to show you that wrestlers should not be wrestling on AEW Dark. Maybe AEW Dark is pointless. Honestly, that might be a serious point of conversation that we need to have. And I'll make that on a whole different video on more Ango, but stay tuned for that. We're going to continue talking about some big stories. This one is about WrestleMania and some legends that are being brought in. PW Insider Elite had reported a list of names that are slated to travel to LA for the weekend. Kane, Jimmy Hart, Tori Wilson, Hacksaw Duggan, Jim Duggan, Sergeant Slaughter, Michelle McCool, and The Undertaker are all invited to WWE WrestleMania. Now, I've seen some people reach out to me on Discord and say, hey, there's this list of legends who are being brought in for WrestleMania. What exactly is the plan here? Is WWE looking at utilizing any of these legends? Like, what should we expect? And I just want to make it very clear. Every year, there is typically a list of wrestlers, legends, celebrities who are expected to be at WrestleMania. Sometimes they appear on the programming. Sometimes they're just there for Hall of Fame event. Sometimes they're just simply there to be backstage. And yes, sometimes they are there to be on TV. So the thing is, I would say with this list of people, more than likely they are going to be doing media and press events for WWE throughout the week in California. I would also say the fact that WWE is going to do the Hall of Fame, I'm assuming that a lot of these people will be backstage in some capacity or even sitting front row in some capacity. It's going to be interesting, by the way, just bringing up the Hall of Fame. This will be Triple H's first Hall of Fame under his creative direction. Obviously, the announcements this year are totally different from what they've done in the past, but we're going to see how Triple H manages to do this, and I think it's really important that Triple H could restore a little bit more value in the Hall of Fame. The fact that it's taking place after SmackDown, it's a really, really busy week for pro wrestling, and it's a really, really busy weekend for WWE in general. So the fact is, Hall of Fame has to take a backseat to something, which I understand, but I did, at one point in time, actually enjoy watching Hall of Fame speeches. I think there's a lot of legends who offer just great stories and great insight on their career, and that's one of the nice parts about Hall of Fame. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, with these people being listed, I mean, just one name that sticks out to me very, very much is The Undertaker. Obviously, don't expect The Undertaker to wrestle, but I just think The Undertaker is such a massive character for WWE that if he wanted to, in some capacity, make some sort of appearance at WrestleMania, years and years ago, we would see Stone Cold and The Rock and Hulk Hogan. But The Undertaker, he doesn't have to wrestle. He doesn't have to get physical. I mean, he could always do a chokeslam if he wants or whatever. But just the fact that even The Undertaker could show up would be really cool. But I would just go and more likely say that is not happening. With that being said, guys, we're going to turn our attention to the final story of today's video. As you guys know, here on the Angle Show, it's all about bringing you guys the updates that matter. Everybody's asking about Bray Wyatt. Just a couple days ago, we talked about Bray Wyatt being removed off of WrestleMania's card. And then WWE announced something very interesting last night on SmackDown, or this morning, depending on when you're watching this video. But basically, SmackDown announced the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial. Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, excuse me. Now, basically, with this match announcement, WWE announced that LA Knight and Bobby Lashley are both in this match, and it's going to be taking place next week on SmackDown, right before the Hall of Fame. So that Friday night is going to be a stacked Friday night SmackDown, plus NXT Saturday, WrestleMania Night 1 on Saturday night, WrestleMania Night 2 on Sunday. My point that I'm making is that WWE announced the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial match. Tongue twister for sure. But here's the thing. So with WWE announcing this, a lot of people are wondering, well, what the hell is going on with Bray Wyatt? Now, as of right now, it appears that Bray Wyatt is not cleared for in-ring action. We spoke about that a couple of days ago. However, there are some rumors that are floating around, and it kind of got me thinking, and it makes sense. Bray Wyatt's taking pictures with fans, and people are posting it on Twitter. He does look healthy. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor. I'm not going to speak for any sort of medical professional out there, because the details on Bray Wyatt are absolutely scarce. But as somebody who just enjoys wrestling and enjoys Bray Wyatt and enjoys Bobby Lashley and enjoys LA Knight, I think WWE could do something really special with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. On SmackDown, if some possible way, I don't know exactly how you do it, but from a storyline perspective, if you can get Bobby Lashley and LA Knight to get involved in this match, maybe be involved in the finish, and allow this to set up a match at WrestleMania. Night 1, Night 2, it doesn't really matter. But if you can set it up a match for WrestleMania, I think that would be the right decision. And if you're the WWE and Bray Wyatt is actually cleared, you don't need Bray Wyatt to wrestle at WrestleMania. Because what you can do is have Bray Wyatt make his debut, not his debut. He could bring his family at WrestleMania to take out Bobby Lashley. Keep in mind, Bobby Lashley and the WWE for months have teased the reunion of a possible Hurt Business. This was happening in the background of so many segments. People are wondering, when is it going to happen? What if this whole thing about Bray Wyatt being taken off the card was all a work? It is a possibility. It could be a work. It could be part of the program to make you forget about him, right? Now, at the end of the day, what you could do, LA Knight versus Bobby Lashley, you could have Bobby Lashley win. It doesn't matter. We already covered a story about LA Knight getting a big push after the fact. But then imagine Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy, and his Wyatt 6, whoever it may be, come out and beat the crap out of Bobby Lashley. Now you can actually go into the spring and summer building a massive storyline. And yes, Bobby Lashley will need some help at some point, and that brings in the Hurt Business. I'm telling you guys, this has money written all over it. Whether you love or hate Bray Wyatt, I think this could very well be a good strategy for WWE. Factions in WWE, factions in wrestling is something I support. And I think Triple H has shown us in the last 8 to 9 months that when you get characters involved and when you provide good wrestling and when you provide a great show, people are willing to watch. And this is one of those big storylines that don't require a world championship or a mid-card championship, and everybody can benefit from it. I'll break it down more on the Ango Show live, but for now, this is your week recap of all of the wrestling news that's been happening. My name is Ango, and I'll see you next time.